guys, today is the day that I'm going to bolt on my winter wheel and tire package on the Shelby GT350. The temperatures are dropping really rapidly in the 40s in the morning, and with the summer tires the car is just really dangerous if you're pushing it hard. So I'm just going to go and show you a little bit about what I picked up here. And like I said, there's not a lot of options for bolt-on wheels for this car. You pretty much have three options. You have the replica GT350 wheel, the replica GT350R wheel, and then you have an MMR 6, I believe it's the 600 or a 660. It's like a split 5-spoke wheel. Everything else is going to require spacers. You're going to have to spend a lot of money getting a custom wheel made for this car. And for the winter, I just don't think it's worth it. So you can see here what I picked up. I got the GT350R replica wheels, and I got them also with the Ford center caps, and I did a Pirelli Winter Sotozeros in a 295/35/19, and this is a square setup, so it's 19 by 10.5 all the way around with 295/35/19s. And the one thing I really like about this so far, and I didn't bolt them on the car yet, is I like the way the sidewall fits on these wheels a lot better than the OEM Michelin's. Okay, you see, like the sidewall has a more bulged, rounded look, whereas on the factory wheel and tire, it's kind of stretched. It has like that stretched look right here, which I'm not a huge fan of. But like I said, the Michelin tires tend to run a little bit smaller than other manufacturers, and that's just the way they produce their molds. But I don't really love the stretched look. I just never really liked it. I always liked the rounded shoulder and the more of a bulged look. So that's something to consider. I mean, I hope that other tire manufacturers make some summer tires in the OEM sizes for these cars, because I think I might want to switch out from the Michelin's just to get that little bit of a bulger and larger look. Because, I mean, look, these are just 295s, and it's got a really nice presence so far. Now, something that I'm going to show you is I got various lug nuts, but I haven't found the right ones to mount these on properly yet, because like I said, the bore of this wheel is deeper than the ones in the front. And I mean, this is a front wheel. The bore in the rear is not as deep. So I'm going to show you quickly what I'm talking about, and I'm going to do a video specifically on how to select the right lug nuts for your custom wheels. Alright folks, so we're back. So I'll give you an idea what I'm talking about here with the lug nuts. And this is a standard black lug nut. It's about 1.5 inches tall, and it kind of goes in there, and it's partially recessed about 3/8 of an inch. Doesn't look bad, but I actually want to have it so the lug nuts are almost flush or sticking out a little bit so they don't look so awkward. So we'll pop this one out. Now we have this guy here. This is a little bit longer. This is about 1.75 inches, and you can see that. I mean, it's still not long enough. So I ordered lug nuts that are showing up later today. They're 2 inches, and then I have 1.3 inches. So between playing around with those two different sizes, I think we're going to get the consistent look front and rear, because I don't really want to have the lug nuts in the rear of the car stick out, and in the front they're recessed. I just don't like that look. So there's a lot of figuring out to do when you're buying lug nuts for custom wheels. It's not just like you just pick up what's in the store and you buy a 20-pack. Whenever you have a staggered wheel, you're always going to need different lugs for the front and different lugs for the rear if you want it to look consistent. Okay, so that's just the way it goes on custom rims. And like I said, look, this is a shorter one. This is 1.2, and you can kind of see. I'll show you. I mean, look at that. It's just too far recessed in there. So here's one of the front wheels, what I was talking about with the sidewall being stretched. I mean, you could really see what I'm talking about here, how it just goes down at an angle, whereas the Pirelli is more of a bulged, rounded sidewall, which is really what I like a lot better aesthetically. But this is what the OEM gives us. So a couple of things I want to see if the car actually rides better, steering response, and actual cornering. I mean, because like I said, this car is pretty damn sharp in all of those categories. I mean, so far it doesn't feel terrible. Like I said, I'm going to hit some bumps, and then I'm going to jump on the highway and see how it does. I definitely notice a little bit more tire noise initially, actually a lot more tire noise, and that's expected, you know, when a winter tire that's got a much deeper thread block and a softer rubber compound. We're going to leave the car in normal mode. I don't want to have the exhaust loud because I'm really trying to monitor some of the key comfort areas that I want to see how these tires do. But I mean, I'm hitting bumps, and to be honest with you, the initial impact of the potholes with these tires is better. And that's probably because the sidewall's not as stiff as the Pilot Super Sports, and that's expected as well. But so far, not bad. I mean, the steering input so far, just driving down my road, it's, you know, you got to put a little bit more input into the steering. You know, you can see the angle of my steering wheel here. And like I said, that comes from the softer rubber and the spongier shoulder blocks of the tires. But I think the real test is going to be on a smooth highway and through some windy roads to see how these tires will do. But I think these are going to get me through the winter fine. I think it's not going to degrade the car that much that you're going to hate driving it. That's just my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I could feel a little wiggle in the car because, like I said, I'm so used to this car being so sharp. Yeah, I definitely feel some wiggle coming from the back. And the only winter tires that I drove on the S550 Mustang was my 2015 GT Performance Pack, and I used Blizzak LM32s, and to be honest with you, that was a really good tire. I was very, very impressed at how well those tires handled in the wet, in the dry, and in the snow. I mean, they were phenomenal. It's very unfortunate that I can't get an LM32 for this car right now because of the sizing. And that does aggravate me a little bit because we're pretty much limited to like 2 snow tires that you can put on these cars because of the size. You're stuck with a 295 3519. I mean, I think it's going to take getting used to, but like I said, when the winter really hits and the temps drop, you're not going to be driving this car, you know, all out. You're not going to be beating on it the way you would in the summer or the spring or other months. But that's expected. I mean, that's just common sense. I mean, we're going to take this turn here, and we're going to see how it hugs. We're at 60 right now. Not bad. I mean, there's a ton of sidewall roll coming from the back of the car. So, man, what a difference this car feels with without having those Pilot Super Sports on them. Wow. So, this is the trade-off. And guys, like, this is something you guys got to understand. There's going to be a trade-off if you want to drive any high-performance car during the winter months. And in New York, the winter months tend to be November, December, January, February, and sometimes March. So, man, we're talking almost 5 months out of the year. You know, the temperatures are going to drop. We might get some ice. We might get some snow. So there's a lot going on. And to be honest with you, if you own this car, any car, whether it's a Porsche or BMW M car, and I mean, I don't think a lot of guys want to park their cars for 5 months that live in the snow belt. Whether you're in Chicago, you're in New York, you know, you're up in Maine or whatever. I just think by, you know, spending a few $1,000s with a winter wheel and tire package, it really makes the most sense. Because you don't ever want to be stuck driving home from your office or doing errands with the summer tires in this car, any high-performance car, and it starts snowing. Like literally, because the snow, when the temperatures drop, it'll just start sticking really quickly. And then now you're driving a car that's going to be extremely dangerous and you're going to get into an accident. I mean, on the highway, they're okay. They're okay. I'm going to be honest with you, in my opinion, from driving the LM32s for 3 years on an S550 Mustang that was heavily modified, I think the Blizzak LM32s feel better than these. That's just my opinion. Maybe I need a little bit more seat time, but these don't have a sharp feeling to them. There's something about these tires, and I'm really surprised because there's a pretty big contact patch in this car right now, you know, with the rubber that I chose. And that's another thing that concerns me, is that on my GT Performance Pack, I ran a 245 front and a 275 rear. I kept it staggered, but it's a much narrower contact patch. And that's something that concerns me, because the footprint of this tire is like this, and that's not exactly the smartest and the safest way to go through snow. So I'm not exactly sure how this car is going to do in the snow, whether we hit 5 inches of snow or we hit 8 inches of snow. I also think that the ground clearance of this car is going to be another limiting factor as far as how far and what you could do with it. But like I said, you know, a little bit of common sense. I mean, don't drive this car in a 2-foot blizzard. It's not designed for that. It just isn't. I mean, I think these tires will get you home from work or from wherever you got to go if it starts snowing. And, you know, once the roads get paved and all of that good stuff, you know, you can at least take your car out. Yeah, I just feel a lot of squirm coming from the back end. Wow. I mean, I just put these on today because the temperatures dropped down in the 40s early this morning. But I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really tempted to swap them back right now. That's just my opinion. I really miss the sharpness and the grip and the tightness of the IRS. This thing, I mean, I could drive it. I mean, I'm not driving it like a grandma. I'm getting a little bit more feedback in the steering wheel on these tires. Not really probably a little bit of resonance, a little vibration. And it could just be because the tires are new. They gotta settle in. And they gotta get them up to temperature. Pirellis are notorious for giving a lot of negative feedback through the steering wheel. That's just the nature of the Pirelli brand. I don't know, they've been doing that for 27 years. And they always will tell you, oh, you gotta get them up to highway speed. You gotta warm them up. You gotta warm them up in order for them to work good. And Continental is also another tire brand that you can get in on a cold morning and let go of the steering wheel, and the steering wheel's bouncing all over the place in your hand. But that doesn't happen with the Michelins. I never had that happen with a Michelin. I mean, overall impressions, I'd say the tires are okay. I don't think they're superb. I don't think on a scale of 1 to 10, they're a 10. I mean, I've looked at all the, before I bought these tires, you know, I'm looking at all the reviews on the tire rack, and this tire has a really good review, but I don't know, I'm a little somewhat disappointed. I'm not blown away. I'm not saying, like, when I put the LM32s with the lightweight TSW wheels on my 2015 GT Performance Pack, I didn't really miss much. As far as the steering, as far as the grip, the back of the car didn't feel wiggly. I just think it was a better tire, to be honest with you. I feel that the LM32 is a much better tire. Unfortunately, they don't make it, you know, in these sizes, so we're pretty much limited to this. Anybody with a Shelby, anybody with a Porsche, an M3, you know, some of the higher end cars that have a very wide tire, this is pretty much the only choice we're going to have right now, this going into this winter of 2017 and 2018. So the one thing that I do notice when you hit rough roads like we're on now, the ride quality is better, but the tire noise is significantly higher, and the feedback coming into the steering wheel, like a vibration type of feedback. It's not like shimmying all over the road, but you just feel a little bit more coming into the car with these tires. With the Michelins, the feedback that you're feeling is so progressive. It's really, you're feeling the road. You're feeling everything that you want to feel. And that's why this car is so good, is because it communicates so well with the front tires and with the steering wheel. And for electronic power steering system, you know, for it to give you that really good sharp feedback, that's a really good characteristic of this car. It's one of the main things that I love about this car. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would want to, you know, take this car and go on a backcountry road right now and go through some long twisties. I just don't think I would be confident at all. So this is like one of those things where you spend a few grand, you throw them on your car, it'll get you home from work if you get hit in the snow, you know, the start of a snowstorm. If you got to run out in an emergency and there's snow on the ground and you need to get your car out and you don't have any other cars, you will be able to get from point A to point B. probably relatively safely, but a lot of that comes down to the driver. You have to know how to drive, and you have to know how to control your throttle inputs, your braking, your steering, everything. So I'll maybe shoot some videos on that if we do get some snow and I take this out, and we'll see how this car does, and I'll explain a little bit more about, kind of like some defensive driving techniques, when you're in those kind of situations with the snow and ice and everything else. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm just driving the car for a little bit now, and I do miss the Pilot Super Sports. So guys, that's the initial review on the winter snow tire and wheel package that's on my GT350. And like I said, I'm going to drive it around for the next couple of days. I'm going to see any more feedback. But I think I have such a good understanding of this car after owning it for over 6 months now, and cars in general, that I already know what these tires and wheels are going to do. I do like the 6GR wheel aesthetically versus the original GT350 wheel. So I'm deliberating, and I may do it by the end of this week, of switching out the wheels. So I may put the OEM wheels back on the car with the Winter Sotozeros, and I may put the 6GRs with the Michelin Pilot Super Sports. So that's my thoughts right now. So I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't know if it's going to be worth it, for time, and I'm just worried about damaging the wheels when you take them on and off so many times. And, with a black wheel, it's going to notice it. I mean, even though the guys that do all my wheel and tire work are good, you never know. I mean, accidents do happen, and then if you damage a wheel now, what are you going to do? You got to refinish the wheel, or you got to refinish the whole set. And I don't really want to deal with that right now. I mean, these are brand new, and they're perfectly mounted and balanced with no issues, no damage to them at all. And let me just check the tire. Yeah, tire pressure is working, so I didn't have to do any reset procedure on this car. I didn't need to use that little tool. But to be honest with you, I've changed tires and wheels on these cars so many times, I never had to reset the TPMS sensors. It usually just picks it up. So that's it, guys. I'm going to conclude this video. I'm going to get it up. Any comments you guys have, let me know. I mean, if you guys have driven on these tires before and you got any feedback, please post it in the video below. I'd love to hear what type of car you have and how many miles you've driven on them. And, if you had Pilot Super Sports or like a Continental Conti Sport 3s or any high-performance, ultra-high-performance tire, and then you threw these on your car, post some feedback in my video. Let me know what you think of these tires, because my initial thoughts, a little bit more road noise, a little bit more vibration coming into the wheel, and there's a lot of tire roll coming from the back of this particular car. So, that's just my initial thoughts of what I feel. So I hope you guys had a good day. Any questions, comments, post them below. See you guys soon.